Good afternoon, everybody. It is coronavirus time on Friday the 27th, March 27th, and that's a picture of Jesus and a shaman, a Native American shaman, here at Spiritual Judo for Sustainable Jesus. All right, so now I'm going to put on the intro music now that I've got that opening plate image in. Right? Okay, here we go. Here's a little opening music before we talk about coronavirus updates and a policy for a sustainable fight against coronavirus. So, opening music. All right, good stuff. So hopefully, well, no, I guess it's more like it follows logically that Sting had was aware of his spiritual growth and his personal growth spiritually. So it's a great song about that quality of experience. And of course, there's the story of George Harrison, which is a little bit, which has its, its real world personal struggles to a very great degree. Sting has followed through to some degree. There's also the story of Richard Alpert from the 1960s, beginning of the 1960s, who became Ram Dass and Alan Watts and others, right? So it's coronavirus time, right? And that ultimately, that spiritual stuff will become relevant in just a few moments more. But I just want to start with getting to my perspective. That is that it's necessary to envision the limits to a total quarantine and the need to transition to more focused medical strategy, more focused public health alert strategy, and isolating the infected and protecting the vulnerable, as well as treatment issues, right? So to kind of capture all that, I've got a whole bunch of Facebook postings here that kind of will lead me through a few comments. Here's the article on South Korea, doing a lot of testing there, and so I'll have to read in more detail exactly what their approach is, but doing a lot of testing. And in this article, they mention how Italy has a high concentration of the elderly. So they're suffering a high death toll and a high infection toll, as far as it's all measured and reported, is reflecting that aspect, that demographic aspect. That's not being reported and not being made clear in making an intelligent and empirical conversation to allow a full philosophical, a full sound, spiritually wise, philosophical and political and policy-oriented discussion about addressing this medical crisis. So Italy has like 28% elderly, which is second in the developed world, I believe the framework is. Second in the developed world to Japan, which has some more than 30% elderly. So these aging trends revealing in that respect. So now there are over 8,000 deaths with over, what is it, some 80,000 infected in Italy or something. I mean, the U.S. is kind of a horse race with the U.S. in terms of the number of cases, but not the number of deaths. So here we go. And this article from Bloomberg, 99% of those who died in Italy had other illnesses. They're already elderly. I mean, it's actually 70 and older is the range that has been affected to 90%. 90%, I believe it is, are over 70, and have prior and pre-existing conditions. So let's be clear. Let's be clear about who the vulnerable are, who the high-risk groups are. For one important segment of evaluating a sound policy of public health response and action. Okay, so what else do we have here? A little history. We've got a Yoruba god thought to have caused smallpox. I hope to show more about that in a moment. Video by Dr. Joe Dispenza, the scientific proof that you can heal yourself. A subject that's being totally ignored in the public discourse, reflecting various prejudices in my experience and arguably in relation to standard medical paradigms. Psychosomatic medicine needs to be kept current and kept prominent in this discussion. So this Joe Dispenza article is fascinating. By doctor, apparently it's a PhD, but clearly a very sound and smart scientist guy, or scientist to be perfectly formal. And I don't have a reference to one of my favorite citations, which is Dr. Gail Ironson, MD, PhD, who has long been at the University of Miami, studied at Wisconsin, trained at Stanford, her residence, and so from a 2009 book, popular book by Barbara Bradley Haggerty, Dr. Ironson's scientific work, which is available at least to see the headlines and the abstracts on the internet, et al., and along with her work, along with her collaborators, a major study of HIV viral patients, right? It's good to keep aware of the virus factor. Just want to check this thing here. All right, at 8 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to go now to end this segment and then go to segment 2. Just a moment. Excuse me.